What's up, everybody? We interrupt this regularly scheduled programming to do something different. We're hanging out in front of the dirty Ram. I have some maintenance to do. I had a check engine light, and my programmer can tell me what the code was. Happened to be a thermostat code, and it's a silly code as far as how it reads. Something like thermostat rationality. Long story short, the truck's not been heating up fast enough, and I really have to get out and drive it for some time to get it up to where the thermostat would normally open. But I'm going to get down in here and take the thermostat out and replace it. So it's not too hard on these. This is a 2007, technically the half year, the first iteration of the 6.7 liter Cummins. So it should go somewhat smooth. I've been spending some time with fellow YouTubers to figure this thing out. I've got to take 4 bolts off the cover. I've got to get down here to the EGR crossover pipe and take it off. There's another fastener actually underneath too. So this is a clamp. We'll loosen that, take it out. We'll loosen this clamp, take it out. And then, I don't know if you can see it very well. Should be fun to loosen when you can't even see it. There's another fastener in the middle that supports the crossover pipe. And once that is in play, there's a little plate here. We actually have to disconnect this connector and loosen this fitting right there. And at that point, we can loosen the thermostat housing, which is just under there. And we don't even have to take the clamp off the hose, which will be good. So we'll be able to loosen 3 bolts on the housing, move that aside, clean that up, replace the thermostat. I think part of what I'll do is I'll start to drain some coolant out of it. You do kind of want to get that level below the thermostat so you don't make a mess, at which point I'll start taking stuff off. And I'll try to show you a little bit more in detail as we move along. I'm bottom side right now, but I'm down here. I'm gonna drain the radiator a little bit, and from watching YouTube videos, a little trick that I never would have thought of. So on the radiator drain plug, there's an O-ring in there that seals that up. And on one of the videos I watched, the guy sprayed WD-40 up inside of there. That helps lubricate the O-ring and keeps it from mucking it up as you turn the knob out. Still draining. Just trying to get down where it looks like I'm below the thermostat level. My quarter drive deep sockets are not deep enough, so I'm using the wrench. But you don't have to zing these all the way off either. Just enough till they'll spread out enough to slide them out and over and all that fun business. It hasn't been too long since these have been off. I think it's been somewhere in the neighborhood of a year and a half that the EGR needed to be cleaned out. So I'm going to get this loose and I'll do the other side. Right there. I decided to go and get a ratchet, a deep socket that fit. Unfortunately, it seems the only deep sockets I have that are deep enough are my 1/2-inch drive stuff. Can't see the fastener, but this little 8mm guy is a pain, and I don't know if I'm making any progress at all. But we've got the crossover pipe disconnected. You see the little metal gaskets there. On the passenger side, it's a flat metal washer, really thin, and then on the driver's side there's some angle to it. As long as they have those at the parts store, we'll be replacing those. Definitely think it's a good idea. I'm going to continue working on this little fastener hidden under the crossover pipe. I'll let you know when I'm finished. Here's the little fastener. There's the spot. Right here, the attachment point. I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world. It's just a tight fit. You can get there by pushing this hose out of the way. You've got some wiring harness in the area as well that you gotta try and get around. Anyway, it's out. Next, we'll move over here. We're gonna start on this connector. Then this plate has to come off and the housing, and we'll be in. These are fun, by the way. I don't know if you can see that. It would help if I didn't block the sun. I'm gonna set this crossover pipe somewhere else. I hate these connectors, I'll be honest with you. I've broken my fair share. Never on customer cars. Well, I'm not really a shop, so there's that. Not a professional, just a hobbyist here, guys. That said, I did work in the industry for a little while. I worked in a lube shop for a long time, so I was a lube tech, yeah. And I did moonlight for a buddy of mine. He has a shop, and I did some work for him. But it's important that no matter what, you figure out these connectors. So if it's not working for you or something seems odd, look it up. Definitely look it up. I mean, it'll probably go back on and function if I broke something, but it depends on what I broke too. This particular connector has a lock mechanism in it, this little red lever. You slide that over. Once you get the lock mechanism out, push on the button right here and pull. You push that to basically move a clip up over these little notches. We'll just set this to the side. Now we need to get down here. We'll go ahead and get this taken off, and then I'll just pull a few more fasteners. We're pretty close. So as you might guessed, there's a lot of metric. It's pretty much all metric. In case you're wondering, 12mm right there. The housing and the heat shield on top of it, all 8mm. The EGR crossover clamps, 11. And in case you're keeping track, 10mm, I own it. And you can't, let's see, I'll dig it out. Why not? There's my 10mm. And this is pretty much my favorite set of all time. I've had this thing for 20 some odd years, and it served me well. We should be in a position now to pull the thermostat housing. So I'm going to get under here and get what for to break that seal. We'll see if we were close on the drain. Looks like we were okay. No need to disconnect this clamp unless you're doing additional work. It's not a bad time to do that. Very flexible, this hose. Now we're down to the thermostat. I'm gonna try and convince it to come up. My guess is it was stuck open. During a really cold day, it would never get to op temp. I could drive forever and it would never heat up. I did end up putting some cardboard in there to block some airflow off, and that helped. We got it out. Disregard the outer seal. I messed that up a little bit taking it out. The only other obvious sign is some of this underside rubber. Definitely looks distorted. Seems as if we might even be missing chunks of it. Now that I know, I'm gonna run down to the part store. We'll get what I need. We'll slap it back together. I just got back from the O'Reilly down the road. Found me a thermostat. Got me a little extra coolant to top this thing off with. Now I gotta get in there and clean these surfaces. So I'm gonna hit this with a little Scotch-Brite. Then I'll do the same over here on this side. Then we can put the thermostat in and start buttoning up the cooling side of things. They didn't have the EGR crossover gaskets in stock, but they should be in tomorrow. Housing's back in, thermostat in place. Just gonna do a quick torque on this. And in case you're wondering, 89 inch-pounds. I'm sure a lot of people just crank that until it feels right. Which, you know, maybe you're that good. I assume you're not trying to overextend that rubber gasket around the thermostat. So on this one, I'll stick to the torque. Got this line attached back in place. Got the thermostat housing torqued down. Put the heat shield plate on there as well. Now we're putting this connector back in. Go until you hear that little click. And we're gonna move this lock back into place. Hopefully you can see that. There you go. Back in action. So I'm going to go ahead and get this little fastener put back in, get the crossover pipe in place. Can't finish it off today, unfortunately. I'll probably do a couple other things. I've got some battery terminals to clean. Check the air filter. We are as close to done as we can be without those crossover gaskets. Coolant is topped off on this system. Pop the cap. You can funnel it in there, fill it up however you want. This pipe plug here, you bring that out, and as long as you're seeing air bubbles popping out, keep topping. But at some point you slow down a little bit until it flows steadily. Then boom, cap that, call it good. And I did put a liquid Teflon sealer on that. And then we topped off the reservoir. And now I just gotta wait. As soon as my gaskets show up, we'll finish it off and take it for a burn. Well, that will be tomorrow. Boom! It's tomorrow. Or today. Welcome back. My gaskets are in. I can put the EGR crossover back in and get that clamped up. Well, folks, that is a wrap. We are all put back together. Appreciate you watching. We will be back to the race car stuff very quick, I assure you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.